You know, when you've been hiding for so long, playing small, strategizing every move, hoping no one notices you just too much. And then someone comes along who's just all out there. No filter, no apologies, no shrinking. That was me, hiding behind perfection, waiting to feel ready until I saw her. Flame red wig, drag queen dancers, full pink lettered, screaming queer anthems with a mic in one hand and a middle finger in the other. I'm obviously talking about Chappell Roan. And if you think she's just another pop girl who got lucky, well, you might want to think again. This is the story of how she went from overlooked and rejected to unforgettable. And today I'm sharing with you what I'm stealing from her to step into my next era. Okay, so first of all, who the fuck is Chappell Roan and why her story shook me so much? Well, before the wigs, the stadiums, and all the viral moments, there was a girl from Missouri named Kaylee Rose Amstutz. She grew up in a conservative Christian family in a small town in the Midwest. She started writing songs at 10. By 17, she was signed to Atlantic Records, which is a dream, right? But 5 years later, she got dropped. No album, no tour, no backup plan, nothing. She could have disappeared, but she didn't. Instead, she created someone new. She chose a new name, Chappell Roan. She dyed her hair, sang queer songs, performed in drag bars. From 2020 to 2023, while everyone was scrolling, she was grinding. Waiting tables, sleeping on floors, making music videos with her friends, showing up on TikTok in full wig and heels because she had no label, no PR, no team, just a vision and a dream. Then 2023 hit, and everything changed for her. With the help of producer Dan Nigro, who also, by the way, produced Olivia Rodrigo, she released her debut album, Midwest Princess, which is an album that she made basically while being broke, heartbroken, and very emotionally raw, but everything wrapped in glitter and eyeliner. And that's the key with Chappell Roan. She's not selling perfection, she's selling transformation. She's selling the story of someone who took rejection, shame, queerness, and small-town silence and turned everything into a show. She built a character that could hold everything Kylie was too scared to show. She became the version of herself that she was too scared to be before. And I felt that in my bones. Because if you've watched any of my content lately, you know that I'm building a new version of myself too. One who isn't paralyzed by fear of judgment. One who dares to be seen. One who creates content from vision, not from people pleasing. And Chappell reminded me that you don't have to wait for permission. You build the version of you that can hold what you actually want. Chappell Roan isn't trying to be relatable or soft or pleasant. Her brand is full on performance. She's queer, camp, and loud, everything on purpose. And watching her, it made me realize that I've spent so long trying to balance everything. Be bold, but not too much. Be ambitious, but not off-putting. Be visible, but still likable. And yet, that strategy never got me seen. It never got me anywhere, to be honest. And Chappell, well, she wears rhinestones and fake blood and performs like she's on Drag Race. She's not digestible. She's unforgettable. And that hit me hard because I realized that I've been shrinking my weirdness, kind of, overthinking my brand, waiting to feel ready before going all in. But she didn't do that. She performed for 10 people like it was Madison Square Garden. And now she's actually headlining festivals. Because it's not about being for everyone. It's about being unforgettable to the right people. She taught me that main character energy isn't something you're given. It's something you claim. But at this point, you're probably thinking, okay, well, how the fuck does she show up like that? She's so bold, so magnetic, so fearless. I could never. But the thing is, she doesn't. At least Kaylee doesn't. Because the person you see on stage in the red wig kissing drag queens and belting about queer heartbreak, that's not Kaylee from Missouri, that's Chappell Roan. And she's a character, literally.
Is it something that you created for the songs, or is it who you actually are all the time?
Well, Chappell is a character.
Cool, like Ziggy Stardust or Dolly Parton or both?
Similar, I would say, yeah. It's just like I simply can't. I just can't like be her all the time.
Yeah,
it's just too much.
And this is the part that made me want to scream in the best way possible, because Chappell Roan isn't her real name, it's her alter ego. And this is exactly the same strategy that I use with Vika, because having an alter ego is one of the most powerful tools you can use when you just can't seem to live up to your full potential. Why? Because when you're the face of your business or your art, it's hard. You second guess yourself, you shrink, you edit, you want to be authentic but also polished, you want to be real but not too much, and that's where the alter ego comes in. And nope, it's not about being fake, it's not about hiding, it's about creating a version of yourself that's designed to hold how bold you are. Think about Beyonce and Sasha Fierce. Think about Lady Gaga and Stefani Germanotta. Think about Tate McRae and Tatiana. Chappell Roan is not just a stage name. She's a permission slip. She lets Kaylee say things she'd never dare say on her own. When I created my alter ego, Vika, I wasn't trying to be fake. I was trying to give myself permission to be bolder, louder, to stop asking, well, is this too much? And start saying, this is me. Because the truth is, the real me was scared. The real me was scared of being judged, of failing publicly, of being seen and being rejected. But Vika, she doesn't care. Vika posts the damn thing. She charges the rate. She speaks up and her voice never shakes. I don't have to be confident. I just have to be her, the version of me who already knows what she's doing. And seeing Chappell live that out, loud, queer, in full drag, it reminded me that alter egos aren't masks. They're just mirrors. They show you who you could be if you stopped asking for permission. The other thing I learned from Chappell is that you do not have to choose between being theatrical and being honest. Her songs are glitter and heartbreak. Her brand is camp and trauma. Her shows are drag and divine rage. And for someone like me, who always thought that if I wanted to be taken seriously, I had to tone it down, that was revolutionary. Because I've always felt a mix of extremes, kind of. Soft and sharp. Introvert but performer. Strategic girly and emotional artist. And watching Chappell evolve, it showed me that your contradictions aren't confusing. They're captivating. Because her magnetism comes from contrasts. She's the girl in latex heels, but crying behind the scenes. It's the drag queen look with a trembling voice. It's the glam carrying grief. And this is exactly what makes her unforgettable. She doesn't try to pick a lane. She holds both extremes and dares us to watch. Being unapologetically yourself isn't about cutting yourself into pieces. It's about learning to hold all of it and showing up with depth. People don't connect with perfection. They connect with truth, especially when it shows up in unexpected ways. That's what creates loyalty. You do not have to pick between performance and authenticity. You can be high concept and heartfelt. You can be strategic without being fake. In fact, the more intentional you are, the more permission you give yourself to just be you, to just be real. And also, here's what people don't always realize. Chappell Roan built this brand herself. Not in a conference room, not in a label board meeting, not with $1 million marketing team. She built it in the trenches. After getting dropped by Atlantic Records, she could have disappeared. And honestly, she almost did. She was broke, she was working service jobs, she didn't have the industry cheering her on. She was making music while crashing on couches and crying in bathrooms. But instead of quitting, she got intentional. She created the world she wanted to live in, and she did it brick by brick. She picked a new name. one that honored her grandfather and sounded like a character from a queer fantasy novel. She redefined her look. She was no longer the polished label girl in soft pinks, but rather a bold, theatrical femme fatale in rhinestones and red wigs. She built her team herself. Drag dancers, queer stylists, indie collaborators who understood her vision. And last but not least, she showed up everywhere. TikTok, tiny stages, queer bars, virtual pride events, all while staying true to herself. And here's the kicker. Her so-called overnight success, well, actually it took 10 years. What looks like going viral now is actually the result of consistent, coherent personal brand building done in the dark. You do not need to wait until you are ready. You just need a clear vision of who you want to be, the guts to embody it before anyone else sees it, the consistency to repeat that message in your look, your voice, your content, your energy, and also the audacity to keep showing up even if no one is clapping yet. If you look at Chappell Roan now, sold out shows, major press, Olivia Rodrigo tour slots, what you're seeing is actually the result of that internal clarity. And that's why it hits so hard now, because she wasn't performing for approval. She was performing from conviction. Moral of the story, build yourself like you're already the main character, even if no one is watching yet, because when the spotlight finally hits you, well, you'll already be ready. So before we wrap this up, let's see what you can learn from her. First lesson, embrace your contradiction. You do not have to be on brand in a flat, one-dimensional way. You can be bold and soft, loud and emotional, sexy and sad. It's all allowed. Chappell didn't choose between being a pop bimbo and a heartbroken queer poet. She became both. And that's what makes her unforgettable. Second lesson, build a character if you need to. If just be yourself feels like bad advice to you, well, you're not alone. Being visible is hard. Being raw on the internet every fucking day, even harder. That's why creating an alter ego can be freeing. It's not lying, it's not making up shit. It's about building a container that lets you show up bigger, bolder, and more safely also. It allows you to be the version of you who's already ready, even if you're still catching up inside. Because yes, sometimes stepping into a role helps you access your real voice. Third lesson, stop trying to be for everyone. Chappell Roan is not aiming for the middle. She's not trying to be safe, polite, universally accepted. She's queer, she's theatrical, political, unapologetically too much. And it's working. Why? Because when you polarize with purpose, you attract real connection. You give people something to belong to. You create a fandom, not just followers. If you're not repelling a few people, well, it probably means you're not reaching anyone very deeply. Final lesson, do not wait for permission. Chappell Roan's most iconic era didn't come from a label strategy. It came from a breakdown, a rebrand, and a choice to show up anyway. Chappell was ignored before she was adored. She didn't let that stop her from building a brand like a star. You do not need someone to discover you. You need to discover yourself. And then build out loud. Post the weird thing. Wear the bold outfit. Make the strong statement. Act like the spotlight is already on you, because the people who are ready for your message, they're already watching. Okay, so what am I actually taking from all of this? What am I stealing from Chappell Roan? Well, here's what I'm doing starting this month. First, I'm posting without over-explaining. Just like Chappell puts on the wig and sings, I'll put on the mic and hit record. Also, I'm letting my alter ego, Vika, take the lead. When I hesitate, she's the one who posts. When I want to shrink, she stands taller. And also, I'm creating content that's bolder, more emotional, more me. Like even the parts that aren't polished yet, even if I don't feel fully ready. Because watching Chappell Roan reminded me that power doesn't come from approval. It comes from clarity and from courage. You do not need a team, a PR agent, or a label to become iconic. You need a vision. You need a voice. You need a version of you that refuses to stay small. Chappell Roan isn't blowing up because she's trendy. She's blowing up because she's intentional. She knows who she is, what she wants to say, and how she wants us to feel. You are allowed to be the headliner. You are allowed to be loud, or soft, or complicated, or brilliant. You are allowed to be seen fully and loved because of it, not in spite of it. If Chappell Roan can create a whole pop persona from scratch, if she can turn heartbreak into theater, shame into glitter, Midwest sadness into icon status, then so can you. You do not need to fit the mold. You just need to own your magic and build the stage it deserves. Now is the time to tell me in the comments what part of Chappell's journey hits you the most. In the meantime, don't forget that you are the main character of your life, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!